Secretary Wright is the 17th secretary to lead the U.S. Department of Energy. As secretary, he is focused on unleashing American energy dominance, accelerating innovation, and advancing all energy sources that are affordable, reliable, and secure for America. This is his second day at Argonne. He got to see the laboratory firsthand and talk with many of our employees yesterday. So I'm really thrilled, really, to continue the conversation today and that he's here to kick off this important AI and nuclear summit. So please join me in welcoming Secretary Chris Wright.
Honored to be here. I appreciate everyone coming. You know, I know we've got folks from Idaho National Labs, Oak Ridge National Labs, Argonne, and great corporate partners in this pursuit of transforming the future of our country and of our world. And maybe I'll start just a tiny bit with history. Think of the formation of this lab, as we just heard mentioned, and I think of Enrico Fermi. And I think of the first pile, right? The first nuclear reaction going critical with Fermi here in Chicago leading to this lab. What else happened at the start of the nuclear age was the start of the computing age. I think Rick mentioned John von Neumann yesterday, you know, as a pioneer in early computing. So to solve the nuclear problem, we use computing tools, and those two technologies grew up together. Nuclear, as I mentioned yesterday, I think in the Manhattan Project was critical in ending World War II early, saving a lot of lives, and the United States finishing ahead of Nazi Germany in that rush. Gave the US a technological advantage, a military and geopolitical advantage. Helped lead to a much better world. If you look at the economic progress, the growth of our energy system, the growth in life expectancy, the growth in wealth after World War II, truly a golden age. And as a guy who spent my whole life in energy, I'll just real quickly think of the history of energy. Throughout all of time, you know, we basically ran on trees. That wood was the dominant energy source throughout all of human history. In fact, wood was the largest source of energy on the planet until about, it'll surprise you, until about 1900. In the 1800s, start of the Industrial Revolution, wood was the dominant energy source. We had peat coming in, which really allowed the Holland, Holland became the wealthiest nation in the world in the Dutch Golden Age. You think of those images, they show these beautiful images of windmills. It wasn't 5% of Dutch power. What changed the game for the Dutch in the early 1600s was peat. They had a new energy source. Great thermal energy allowed them to build better farming tools, to make glass, to build bricks, build ships. You know, it became a giant global power because their energy system changed. Coal was a much bigger resource than peat. England had a lot of coal. England surged ahead with a much bigger game-changing energy source of coal. And the energy system has marched forward really from wood, you know, to peat, to coal, always increasing energy density. Wood, peat, coal, oil, natural gas. Like, what comes next? Nuclear. That's the trajectory we were on. And then that trajectory got knocked off. We got knocked off track. Nuclear was 6% of global energy in the year 2000. Today it's 4%. Total amount of nuclear energy produced has not actually declined. We've shrunk it in the wealthy countries, and it's grown in China, in India, and some developing nations. But the pie, the global pie of energy grew, and its market share actually is only 4% today. We want to change that. We want to change that and accelerate this next generation of computing. Computing has had great progress since World War II as well, but we're at a threshold, at a turning point. Computing's become more ubiquitous in things we do. It enables all of our tools, but getting to the stage where computing can do human-like things, not love and compassion and consciousness and all that. So I don't want to scare people. I don't think AI is not replacing human beings. I view AI as just this incredible tool that's going to leverage the power that humans have, all humans have. to simply make our world better, drive drug discovery, drive the progress of science, drive our economy to be more efficient, solve problems we have not been able to solve. But that Fermi lab, Argonne lab, Oak Ridge lab, Los Alamos labs, our system started with the combination of nuclear technology and compute. You're all here today, and I think our future in the next 5 or 10 years, those will again be, we're going to do a lot of great things. Those are going to be the two biggest things we're going to drive. AI is at such scale now that the biggest limiter on it is power production, you know, where people can build data centers. The last 4 years in that energy transformation or that energy progress, I think in the last 10 or 20 years, we've gotten off track. We've gotten off track for a couple reasons. One was we forgot that energy density, energy reliability matter, right? The world is getting better by increasing our energy production. We have seen just an insane amount, it depends how you count it, somewhere between $3 and $8 trillion have been invested in wind, solar, and batteries. I worked on solar technology in graduate school at UC Berkeley. I use it in my companies to power remote instruments. So I'm not against the technology per se, but we got to do the math. Wind, solar, and batteries after $3 to $8 trillion last year were 3% of global primary energy. Only in one sector, the electricity sector. That's an important sector, but it's one sector. Our biggest use of energy globally is process heat, high temperature heat to make steel, to make plastics, to make fertilizer, to make computers, to make cars, to make all the materials we make everything else out of. If you're going to have a critical energy system, you have to have more than just electricity. One of the reasons I love nuclear and one of the reasons I see it as a technology that can have a big and critical future for humanity is it can do, today it does just electricity, but it can do more than that. Of course, it generates heat that's later converted into electricity, and reactors can be designed to operate at different temperatures. You can operate at high temperature and deliver process heat from nuclear reactors. That's just a way bigger pie in which that technology can address. And it's up to us, the people in the room and the labs and our commercial companies around the world, to get nuclear back in gear again, to meet the surging demand for electricity from AI, to meet the growing demand for process heat. Why do we need a lot more process heat? In this room, we're focused on AI. We need a lot more electricity, and we do. But don't never forget, 1 billion people live a life remotely recognizable to the lives we live. That's awesome. Look, I mean, throughout all of human history, global life expectancy was about 30 years, including 200 years ago. Today, it's 73 years. Like, what happened? What happened was more energy, more freedom, more innovation, and we launched the modern world in just a few generations. That public health, the insights from that modern world have impacted life expectancy for everyone. But the energy, the fully energized lives that we lived, that wear all these fancy clothes that are made with and out of hydrocarbons, to have turn on a light switch, to go home and temperature control our house, air condition in the summer and heat it in the winter, get in a car or a bus or an airplane to go visit our family and go vacation. That's pretty awesome, pretty awesome. But 1 billion people do that. 7 billion people want to do that. And it's also up to us in the energy world to do everything we can so they will do that. They will do that. The attempts to say energy is bad and we should be at peak energy production and climate change is going to kill the world, to me, those are mostly from people that obviously aren't looking at the data of climate change or climate economics and being thoughtful about it. But they have carried the day for a while politically, and we have put barriers in front of energy production, including in front of nuclear. You know, it's easier to sell fear than it is to provide reassurance. That's like a fundamental thing that drives politics, that drives social movements. We've got to change that. We've got to bring back inspiration, wonder, satisfaction as goals, not just fear. That's what AI is to me. It's going to bring magical transformation and change. But that massive new energy source we need to power AI and to power our world, the most promising source that can provide that, in addition to our backbone hydrocarbon system, is nuclear. Let's use our tools of AI to get nuclear technology rolling again, which means we got to drive the cost down. We've got to make these systems lower capital and faster to build. But we're humans, we're ingenious. We developed an atomic bomb in 28 months. You're telling me we can't make a reactor that's reliable, affordable, and be able to be mass produced? Of course we can. Of course we can. And I know I'm speaking to the choir because it's people in this room who have been major drivers of those technologies, those nuclear technologies, and of course, AI and computation. This is, I hope, a day and a half of just outright enthusiastic abandon for what you're going to do together to make our world a better place, to make our country proud, to deliver the advances of AI, have that led right here in the United States, of course, in cooperation with our allies and partners abroad. But we want America to lead in that. We want America to also lead in the nuclear renaissance. That one we're behind in, but that's for politics and fear. We got to fix that problem, and we're going to fix that through technology and open and honest communication. But I got to get out of the way so you can drive ahead that progress of AI and nuclear energy. I love seeing those two communities together. Those are the two communities that launched the Manhattan Project and started our post-war world. That communities are together again today. Let's drive AI and nuclear to the future. I'm all in on that as your partner in DC, in the overhead department of the Department of Energy back in DC. But we have programs, we have funding. We're launching commercial efforts to get enrichment going in the United States. We put out an RFA yesterday for fuel fabrication in the United States. Our fantastic lab partners doing everything we can to offer up those lands, to offer up our licensing authorities to get test reactors on the ground at Idaho National Lab, going critical by next summer, July 4. We're working across the whole government, including the NRC. How do we get regulation thoughtful and reasonable and not smothering? But I think there is unanimity that that's what we need to do. I'm very thankful for President Trump's executive orders, 4 of them on nuclear energy. We got to make these reforms to get it going again. And he and the administration as a whole are absolutely all in on AI. So you're the brains, you're the intelligence, you're the tip of the spear that's making it happen, but we are all in behind you. Let me know how we can be more helpful and more supportive of what you're doing. But I'm so thankful for all of you. And I know in the coming years, our country and the citizens of the world will be incredibly thankful of the dynamic change you're all going to bring. Thank you all so much. Onward and upward.